we helped the e-commerce brand make over $1.5 million in just 6 months. And in this video, I'm gonna break down the exact strategy that we used to generate this kind of results so that you can get the same kind of results. Getting right into it, this is gonna be a case study video, how we made this automotive brand $1.5 million in just 6 months by using their email list to its full potential. Just some proof to show you, that the results are actually real. It's not like they're made up or anything. You can see that in total they have made almost 3.8 million during that period, and their email marketing brought in over 1.5 mil. The breakdown of campaigns and flows is pretty healthy as well. Obviously flows brought in a little bit more in terms of revenue, and I'm gonna tell you later on why is that. And then campaigns brought in over 400k in sales. This was a high AOV brand, that's why the revenue per recipient is so high as well. These are some of the other brands that we're doing it for, just to assure you that this is not some kind of magic, or it didn't happen by mistake. This is what we're replicating for dozens of e-commerce brands every single month. And to give you some context, as I mentioned, it's an automotive niche. The AOV was $400, which is why I said at the beginning that it's high, and that's why revenue per recipient is high, because usually lower AOV brands have lower revenue per recipient, but higher AOV brands have higher revenue per recipient, as simple as that. The return rate was about 40% when we took over, and the automotive brand that we helped make those results sells mainly 3 collections that they focus on. Before we came in, the majority of these sales were coming from just one category, and one more important thing is that there are 2 customer profiles buying from this brand. So it's not like a regular brand where you are mainly D2C or B2C, because this brand was also selling to B2B customers, okay? So it was both. It wasn't one or the other, it was both, and I believe that this split was actually pretty healthy, around like 50-50 as well. Now, the problem that they had is that they have a lot of complementary products, which are easy cross-sell. As I mentioned before, they were mainly selling products from one category. So, but in total, they had 3 main collections that they were focusing on. So they had really a lot of opportunity to sell more of those products to existing customers and to new customers as well. On top of that, their B2B customers can have huge LTV. And I really mean huge. It's not like your average e-com store where someone buys from you, 2 or 3 times and they're done. In this case, the B2B customers could have even 5 to 10x the B2C customers LTV. It means that, for example, if a B2C customer spent $400, the B2B customer would have spent 4K or 2K in the same store for the same brand. That's why it was very important to kind of distinguish both customer profiles and have focus on both, okay? But I'm gonna cover it later on, so no worries. And unfortunately for this brand, they didn't really know how to reach those valuable customers, those high LTV customers, and how to make sure they are buying from them more and more. These sales would be extremely profitable, knowing that they would be reaching customers who they are already acquired, so any further sales had high margins. They weren't using the best way to get those purchases, which is email marketing. And don't get me wrong, there are probably, you can get customers to buy from ads or direct mail on whatnot, but usually email marketing is giving you the best ROI, right? Because if someone bought from you once and they are able to spend 10 times more than your AOV, then you can afford to not use email marketing, because otherwise, just like for this brand, skipping email will cost you millions. And it wasn't exaggeration, and it isn't exaggeration at all. The screenshot above, which is this one, is the actual hard proof, right? So it's not like I'm saying that, they could have missed. It's actually how much we made them in 6 months. So if you take it in and count it as annual revenue, that would be over 3 mil in extra annual revenue. So literally skipping email cost this brand millions, right? $3 million in extra annual revenue. And remember that the profit margin is exceptionally high for all of those sales, unlike with Google or Meta ads, okay? And the truth is that this might sound crazy, but it isn't unheard of. There are dozens of brands like this who have a gold mine, and by gold mine I mean their email list, but they are not mining it, which means they're not using it. Now, potential awareness is something that this brand realized, okay? So I'm saying luckily for them, but they were aware, and there's no luck involved really. I'm just happy that they realized what's going on, they understood how powerful email can be, and they knew the potential that their email list had. All of these high quality subscribers were just sitting in their software waiting to be used. And one day they made the best decision they could ever make, which is partnering up with us, which is me and my team. I'm somewhat joking because, like obviously I want to show us that we are able and capable of getting those results. But on the other hand, they've made the decision to get started with email, treat this channel seriously, and that's what made them so much money, right? So making a decision to take email marketing seriously was what made them all these extra sales and allowed them to profitably scale and grow their store. But there was one problem. They didn't know how, okay? So initially they wanted to do email marketing, but they didn't know how, so they hired us, right? And that what led them to getting such results. They didn't have the knowledge or expertise. They didn't know the current trends and tactics, which is also very important. And that's a big problem because if you're starting from scratch, you're pretty much blindly trying some strategy that you find online. And trust me, I mean, okay, there's a lot of good content online that you can, watch or read and implement, but there's also a lot of not that good of a content, which essentially it costs you twice to pick out the cheap result. Pick up the cheap option, okay? Because if you try some of the crap that's out there where someone is selling you on outdated tactics and email campaigns and copy and designs which don't work anymore, and you implement that, then you're gonna start sending those emails, they won't get results, and you will miss out on all of the sales that you would make otherwise. Okay, so that's why you need to be up to date with current trends and tactics because they do really change, and things can go really crazy if you follow them. So, using outdated tactics or not proven to work strategies will make you end up losing money and losing countless hours, which is probably the most, not probably, but it's the most valuable time that we have, resource that we have. So they decided to partner up with us, which is me and my team of 8-figure email marketers. Now, we have established short and long-term goals. So when implementing email marketing, there are some things that you need to do ASAP and some things that will come later down the line. We've set up our both short-term and long-term goals. Short-term goals were meant to be accomplished within the first 30 days, and long-term goals were meant to be accomplished within the first 90 days, or they would be kind of ongoing for as long as we are partnered up together, which is still up to date right now. It's December, almost it's 2025, and we're still partnered up since May of 2024. Sorry, not May, but March. So for short-term goals, the priorities were setting up the Klaviyo the right way, plus installing the add to cart event. Right now, you don't need to install the add to cart event because Klaviyo rolled out an update that it automatically adds it for you. But back then in March and April, we had to do this because there wasn't such update back then. Then we had to create the pop-up to start building the list. So they already had a list, but it was mainly existing customers. So we started, building the list from non-buyers as well. Then we wanted to start sending campaigns to engage segments to build the domain reputation. Then we wanted to build all the flows from scratch, and then we wanted to expand the segments and test new campaign angles. The revenue target for the short-term goal was 20% other revenue, which is pretty, I don't say hardcore, but to do this in the first 30 days, it's not, that often. Of course, for this brand, we managed to do this, but just wanted to let you know and clarify that it's not gonna be like that. This brand is kind of an exception because they had like super high quality list, a great product, and a lot of upsell cross-sell opportunities. So 20% more revenue from email is possible, but it might not be possible for everyone within the first month. Okay, you can probably achieve it easily in like 2, 3, maybe a little bit more months, but like for this brand, we aimed to get 20% more. Now for long-term goals, the priorities were optimizing the flows and running A/B tests, getting higher submission rate on our pop-up, but without sacrificing lead quality is very important because you can have a huge submission rate, but if the quality of those people is pretty low, then it isn't really ideal because you're paying more for the software, but you're not getting more out of it, which doesn't really make sense in the end. Then we wanted to find winning campaign angles and use them frequently, so kind of repurpose them over and over again and recreate them. Then we wanted to increase the sending volume to 3 to 4 campaigns per week, but also while maintaining solid deliverability. Those are a priority to make sure that we are not getting into the spam folder. Then we wanted to start growing SMS list and slowly making it more and more important. And then we wanted to improve the click-through rate for campaigns, and the revenue target for long-term goals was 30% added revenue from email marketing alone. Now you might be wondering by this point, okay, like who are you and why should I listen to you? So my name is Konrad. I'm the founder of VentiveMail, which is an email and SMS marketing agency where we do fully managed for you and done for you email marketing from A to Z, managing, copy, design, segmentation, everything like that. We've worked with over 40 e-commerce brands. I've been in the e-commerce space for over 4 years, and I've generated, okay, I lost it here, but I've generated over $20 million from email and SMS, where 15 million was done in this year alone. You can also find me on Twitter, here on YouTube, or on LinkedIn. Now let's get into what we have actually done for this brand, what were the phases, and how we've proceeded to implement all of that. Phase 1 usually takes us between 1 to 3 days, where we start off with initial research. And I say initial because research shouldn't be a one-off thing, okay? This is something that has to be continuous as brand develops, but also as we test emails and angles. But at the beginning, we had to do the initial research to come up with the overall strategy and emails, and I mean both copy and design. We looked at the brand itself, the competitors and target audience, the usual stuff, and that gave us an idea of what the approach should be and the emails that we need to create. Now we proceeded to the technical setup, which is a must-have for every single brand. You need to set up a custom sending domain, SPF, DKYM, and also DMARC records. Klaviyo account properly, it has to be set up the right way. Make sure that all the events are tracked properly, especially the added to cart event. And then you need to do it once, and then you're usually all set. So, this is very important to do this at the very beginning, because once we do it, we're all set and we don't need to do it over and over again. Then the strategy for list growth was pretty simple. This brand had only buyers on their email list, which means they were missing out on a lot of subscribers that aren't ready to become buyers just yet, okay? They will become buyers later down the line, and obviously not all of them, but getting non-buyers from cold traffic to your email list is very important because you have so many opportunities to convert them later on. So we have agreed on the offer and prepared the pop-up. Our focus was to first of all just start building the email list and make sure it's growing efficiently, start building SMS list, but also collect zero-party data. By zero-party data, I mainly mean the customer profile. So if those people are B2B or B2C customers, because as you're gonna see later on, it's gonna be very, very important when it comes down to creating the email strategy for those customers, okay? Then the strategy for flows was quite simple as well. When a brand has no flows at all, we want to set them all up ASAP. That's because the traffic is ongoing. There are so many people coming in, coming through, triggering multiple triggers or events, and they're not getting the flows. Then the brand is missing out on so much revenue. It's crazy, okay? And as we were collecting zero-party data from the start, we knew that we had to prepare 2 sets of welcome flows, one for each customer profile. We had already done our research, so we had a rough idea of what each email should include. This made the approval and the implementation process way easier. The goal was to set up the flows quickly and launch some initial A/B tests to start gathering more data. Now the strategy for campaigns. So this brand wasn't using Klaviyo before, so we were starting from scratch. It means that we didn't really have any previous data aside from the previous orders data, okay? So we had 2 primary goals with campaigns. First one is warming up the sending domain. The second one is testing as many angles as we can. So we came up with the segmentation strategy, because lack of the previous data creates one big challenge for the domain warm-up. It's hard or pretty much impossible to create email engaged segments if you don't have any previous engagement, okay? So what we've done is we have started off with the highest spenders, and the reason behind that is simple. If someone bought from you 3 or more times overall, chances are they aren't getting your emails in the spam, and on top of that they're familiar with the brand, so they will see the email as relevant. After that, we started building our regular engaged segments, as we would also start collecting data from the store and from our flows, okay? So the case was simple. If someone bought from you 3 times, usually they aren't getting the emails into the spam, and that's because even if you send like shipping update or anything like that, they would be getting it into the primary tab or promotions tab. So that's why high spenders are the best group to target if you don't have any previous email engagement data. If you have previous email engagement data, then you can use just that. But in this case, we didn't have it, so we had to come up with some other solution. And then, as I mentioned, we started collecting data for the flow, so people who would be opening our flow emails and whatnot, this would be giving us a little bit more email engagement, so we could build off segments of that, quite simple. And then to end up the phase 1, which is once again in the first 3 days, we prepared the first email drafts. To be completely honest, we pretty much always prepare them within the first 1 to 2 business days after we get the onboarding form filled out. That's mainly because we want our clients to get results fast, and like, let's just be transparent. Good first impression means higher chance they will stay with us longer. So that's why we did the same for this brand. Just after 1 day, we had already had our first flow and campaign drafts. This allowed us to understand the brand even better, as we have an actual example we can work on and get feedback on. So this was phase number 1. Once again, this is kind of like a preparation, or sharpening the axe, if you will. And then we enter phase number 2, which we kicked off on day 4, and it was rolling out up to day number 30. We launched the sign up form. The offer was 5% off. The initial pop-up was testing longer versus shorter version, so micro yes and no micro yes. And on top of that, we were collecting zero-party data, which is B2B versus B2C customers. Triggers were separate for each device, so on desktop it was exit intent only, but on mobile it was 10-second delay or 60% scroll. Then we have also launched flows. We started off with the 4 critical flows, which every brand should have pretty much ASAP if you're starting with email marketing. So it was welcome flow, abandoned cart, checkout, and post purchase. These were done within the first 15 days and each had between 4 to 6 emails inside. Then on the days 16 to 30, we were rolling out the remaining flows, which is browse abandonment, site abandonment, window shoppers, replenishment, customer win back, and first purchase anniversary. Then we have also launched SMS flows, which is once again welcome flow, abandoned cart, abandoned checkout, and browse abandonment. At first, the volume was almost not existent, to be honest, because they didn't have any SMS list, but there's always more touch points in the customer journey, which, it can't really hurt you, right? And then we launched the campaigns. Once again, the goal was to warm up the domain, build the engaged segments, and start testing new angles. As we had a new sending domain, we started sending plain text campaigns. They were mainly purely educational or value driven because we didn't want to get high spam rate or unsubscribe rate or any kind of complaints. And after the first few campaigns, we actually started selling more and testing multiple angles, which brings us into phase number 3, which was month 2, 3, and so on. So the opportunities, we wanted to spot them, like what are the the things we can improve for this brand in terms of the email marketing. And after the first 30 days, we usually have plenty of data to play with, okay? That's why we kind of start spotting them, because you can't be really, evaluating your performance after 3 days if you have only 50 recipients for campaigns or flows, okay? That's why you need to have a little bit more data to see what's even possible and to test fast. That's when we started spotting opportunities and lowest hanging fruits. And as we've scaled over 30 brands for email, we knew a thing or two about optimizing this brand email performance, so our focus was to optimize 3 key areas, which is list growth, flows, and then campaigns. Now for the list growth optimization, the sign up rate at the beginning wasn't very good, to be honest. This is how things are. It's not always perfect from the start, but that's why you optimize and you test, okay? Because when we kicked off, the submission rate was around 3%, which is really poor. We wanted to be way higher. But the thing is that by now we have run only 1 test, okay? So and just remember, we kicked off the 5% off and the test was longer versus shorter pop-up. So micro yes versus no micro yes. In this case, the shorter version was performing better. But the next tests were 5% off versus mystery offer, and then partial pop-up versus full screen. These 2 tests alone took the submission rate to over 9%. Which is over 3x submission rate that we initially started with, okay? This is the first test, as you can see, 2.75 versus 3.75. The second test, where we tested the 5% off versus mystery offer, 3.52% versus almost 5. And then the last test, so ignore the name because it wasn't 5% off. The offer for these tests was the mystery offer. It just, the naming was wrong in Klaviyo for some reason. But regardless, these tests both had the winning variation, which is the mystery offer, and we've tested the partial screen versus full screen, okay? And this test alone pretty much doubled our submission rate and got us from over 4% to over 9%, which is very, very crazy. And this is the thing that I didn't mention before, but I mentioned that you need to be on top of the current trends and everything that's going on within the space. And that's why, because recently, within the last few months, full screen pop-ups have been doing absolutely insanely well, okay? This wasn't always a thing, it wasn't always the trend. Everyone was using the regular partial screen pop-ups, but right now we are using full screen for pretty much all of our clients because it is performing better. And that's why you need to be always staying on top of the current trends and what's going on within this space once again. Then for the flows optimization, after the flows were live, we've started testing the following things. So we started testing angles, the length of the flows, time delays, subject lines, email formats, and order of the emails. And also, whenever we had a campaign that worked well, we would also add it to the flow if it made sense. So testing angles is simple, just different emails themselves, length of the flow, quite self-explanatory as well, more emails versus less emails, time delays, which is time delays between each emails, subject line for specific emails as well, email formats, so design-based versus plain text emails, and order of the emails. So for example, we would test welcome email number 2, which is being sent as email number 2 versus when it's being sent as email number 5, okay? Sometimes this would really make a significant difference, and that's why we also test it. Now that brings us to campaigns optimization. So optimizing campaigns is really an ongoing process, but to be honest, it's just like for flows or sign-up forms. We always start with figuring out the send time because quite often we need to do it just once, okay? Then we figure out what's the best sending frequency. So we usually start with 2 emails per week and then we ramp it up to 3 to 4 emails per week. Usually this is a sweet spot for like the majority of the brands. We had cases where our clients wanted to send daily emails, but usually we would still end up going back to 3 to 4 per day, mainly because the revenue uplift wasn't that big, but we were burning for the list pretty fast. And 3 to 4 times per week is a sweet spot. People aren't getting annoyed, angry. Your list isn't turning that high, that quickly, and you're still making tons of revenue and tons of sales, okay, while having very good engagement. That's why this is a sweet spot. Important note here is that we also started building our engaged segments and we have expanded our targeting until we hit the entire list at once. So after the first month, we can already see some angles and approaches that are working well. Then we keep replicating the winners and testing new angles, and then we also tend to test different offers to see what resonates best with the audience. And this is our process pretty much. So we send 3 to 4 campaigns per week. We find winning angles, we replicate winners each month, and then we keep testing angles. If we find winning angles, we replicate them and so on and so on. This is like a never-ending circle where we just keep testing, keep improving, because ongoing optimization is super, super important in any space, I guess, but with email marketing it's especially very important because you can really improve your results significantly, and the pop-up tests alone should tell you that, because we pretty much tripled this brand's list growth by running 3 tests, okay, which is something that anyone can do really if you have the know-how and the expertise to do it. Now let's talk about the SMS list for this brand. So we were starting it from scratch. They had no SMS list at all, no phone numbers of the clients, of the customers, but we kept building it over time anyways. So because we knew that it would start bringing more and more sales every single month. A small win that we had that recently, it brought in almost 9K in extra sales, and that's on top of what email generated. So it may not seem like a lot, but you need to remember that, for this brand, at this scale, it's still over 105K extra annual revenue from something that pretty much didn't exist a few months ago, okay? So that's just showing you how, what are the possibilities and opportunities with both email and SMS. And then this is the final result, okay? As I mentioned, we've made them over 1.5 mil in just 6 months. Campaigns brought in over 400K. flows brought in 1.4 mil, and SMS 4.5k during that period, because once again it was the screenshot from April 1st to September 28th. But this one is, probably, I think it's from October, not even November, so it didn't include Black Friday. It was just October, so it's still a decent, scale if you look at that, because over this whole period of 6 months, the SMS made 4.5k, but then in 1 month alone, which is October, it made almost 9k, which is double what we've made during this period. Right, and now you might be wondering how you can get the same results for your ecom brand, and I mean, that's a great question. So to help you with that, we'll do a comprehensive Klaviyo audit, plus we'll give you the complete roadmap for your Klaviyo account and for your email marketing, okay? If you run or operate an e-commerce brand which does at least 50k per month in revenue, we'll do an in-depth Klaviyo audit and give you the complete roadmap on how to grow your brand with email marketing. And that's even if you have an in-house team, work with another agency, do email yourself, or never send an email in your entire life. Just click a calendar below. In your case, it will be in the video description down below, and you'll find the right time for you. Now, what's included? Now, that's another great question. We'll do an in-depth audit of everything that you're doing right now, including account setup and integration, deliverability, we'll see if your emails are going to spam, and if yes, we'll show you how to fix it. List growth, which means if your list is growing efficiently, how you can improve it, how we can get higher submission rate with higher quality subscribers. We will audit your flows, campaigns, and segmentation, but also content, which is copy and design, how it can be improved, how it can be done better, if it resonates with your audience, if it's, congruent with the website. We'll do all of that, and you'll also get a step-by-step action plan with improvements ranked by the potential gain and opportunity, so you can easily implement the 80-20 rule right away. There is one but, which is these audits are very, very, very in-depth, and some brands we did it for made an extra 20 to 40k in just 1 week after they implemented the changes. Okay, so if we do the audit, it doesn't mean that you have to work with us. It's just you're getting it, and then it's up to you if you want to do it yourself or if you want to work with us. If you want to work with us, then that's great. But if you want to implement it yourself, that's fine. That's why we have an action plan, which is also, ranked by the potential gain opportunity. And once again, we had brands making 20 to 40k in 1 week after implementing these changes, which means that we could easily charge them almost $500 for. But knowing how much time and effort it takes to do this, we can offer them only to 10 e-commerce brands every single month. So if you want to get these insights for free, completely for free, no strings attached, and see how you can scale your brand with email marketing, find the time that works for you, book a call where we'll, just get the needed access and talk a little bit more about your brand to get the context, and we'll do this for you completely for free. So below this video, you'll have a link which will redirect you to the, to the calendar. So make sure that you click on it, pick the right time that works for you, and we'll talk soon. Thank you for watching this video, and talk to you soon. Bye.